Yeah. Yeah, there were quite a few things I didn't have on my bingo card for this Texas Tech Arizona State game. We'll discuss them all, including JT Toppin's historic performance and how the Red Raider defense is not as bad after looking at the tape as we initially thought watching this game. Hey, how's it going, everybody? RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you're unfamiliar with the show, welcome in. This is the largest group of Texas Tech fans here on YouTube. If you want to join, all you got to do is simply like the video, hit that subscribe button for 100% free and authentic Texas Tech takes year-round, whether it's on the gridiron or the hardwood. We've got you covered on everything you need to know in Red Raider Nation. All right, let's jump into this because let's just get right to the stats because, my goodness, you're reading that score right. You are. No, your eyes aren't deceiving you. No, you got it right. 111, 106 in double overtime. JT Toppin goes for 41, misses 5 of his 22 shots, and has 15 rebounds in this game. Simply sensational by the true sophomore. Let's not undersell D5, though. Getting back on track. 27 on 18 shots, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists. Texas Tech, as a team, shot about their season average from 3. The issue is Arizona State had by far their best shooting night of the entire year. People, I'm going to go ahead and say this. I'm going to go out on a limb here and call me crazy, say, oh, you're a Texas Tech fan, whatever. It doesn't matter. I would bet a significant sum of money Arizona State does not shoot like that from 3 for the rest of the year. Now, some of that had to do with the Texas Tech defense, but I also want to tip my cap to Arizona State. After going and rewatching some of that game, they were making some difficult shots. Was Texas Tech playing elite defense? No, but there were some shots where I was just like, okay, I don't know what you want Texas Tech to do. I think the most frustrating part defensively for Texas Tech, at least in my opinion, was the fact that what damn near felt like consistently was allowing the switch for Elijah Hawkins to guard the big Phillips for Arizona State. And Phillips is a solid player, don't get me wrong, but there's no reason he should have 15, okay? Especially when you have the opportunity to go a little bigger. Now, I also understand this perspective from Grant McCaslin. They were shooting the ever-loving you-know-what out of it, were the Sun Devils. So you had to keep as many guards out there as possible to help on the perimeter because Arizona State was playing small ball. Now, let's go look at the Texas Tech stats in terms of more higher-arcing stuff in terms of how many points did they have in the paint. You can see it on your screen right there. They had 50 points in the paint. Again, it helps when JT Toppin has 41. Points off turnover, 17. Opponent turnovers, 12. Solid number right there. You were 16 of 20 on layups and dunks. Pretty solid ratio right there, 80%. You had 82 possessions in this one, and you scored 51 times, right? You had 14 second chance points. You shot well in this game, both from the field, from 3, and from the free throw line. You won the rebounding battle by double digits. You had a lot more assists, 6 to be exact, excuse me. But I think the key difference in this one, as I get back on the screen fully, was this, and I haven't heard anybody talk about this in the tech space yet. I don't think it could go understated how impactful it was that Texas Tech was not in the bonus late in this game. Why do I say that? It allowed them, you could see later in the game, Texas Tech became more aggressive defensively. Okay. And I think they were really mindset-wise allowed to do that from the perspective of, okay, I know I can be aggressive here and I'm not just giving them an opportunity out of 1-and-1 or just 2 free throws, right? We're on the other end of the floor. Texas Tech became hyper-aggressive in the pick and roll and made sure that damn near every shot in both overtime and the final 2 minutes came within the paint, okay? I think that was a key difference in this game. Again, tip your cap to Arizona State. Some Tech fans aren't going to want to do that. You should. That was a hell of a performance by Bobby Hurley's club, a team that came into this matchup 16.5-point favorite or underdogs, and the line closed at 15.5. Open at 16.5, closed at 15.5. Like, I mean, it was unreal how well they played in this game. And they were without arguably their best player in their true freshman 5-star center, JQ. You had multiple opportunities if you were Texas Tech to pull away in this game. You were up by 9 at one point in the first half. And then Arizona State just went on a Steph Curry, Klay Thompson splash bro type heater from the outside. I mean, when you have one of their players, Ali, a guy that averages 4 points, right, go for 22, first and foremost, good for him, right, in terms of scoring those points. But also at the same time, like, your defense wasn't there. The biggest issue I had was it felt like Tech kind of, how do I say this without sounding like it was a trap game? Because I don't think it was a trap game. You're far better than this, than you showed, at least on the defensive end. Offensively, this is the best performance maybe in program history. I mean, holy crap, they were really good. But the thing is I think Texas Tech took their foot off the gas after that 3-game stretch where they had Houston, Baylor, Arizona. I think they looked at the schedule that they had and they were like, okay, we have 4 games that we should win coming up. Starting with Arizona State, you then go to Oklahoma State. We'll preview that video here on the channel later in the week. Then we'll also, go to TCU. And then we go back home for West Virginia. Like, worst case scenario, you should be 3-1, right? But you are better than these teams. It felt like it took them a minute to get in this game. And then it was by the time that they got into the game flow, it was like, oh shit, Arizona's shooting the lights out of it, right? Like, we're playing okay defense, but they're making some shots they don't typically make. And when you have those two things coincide with one another, it's like, okay, you're in a tough spot if you're Texas Tech. Give credit to the Red Raiders, though. They responded when they needed to, specifically in the final 2 minutes, overtime number 1 and overtime number 2. But, man, this game was absolutely crazy from the standpoint of just offensive efficiency from both teams. I mean, again, Arizona State shot 48% from 3. They're not going to be close to that in another game this year. They're just not. And some of it, Texas Tech, again, left them open, and they had some bad switches on pick and rolls. But also, Arizona State had some shots where I was like, what are we doing here? You don't even make that in practice. What are we talking about? But, again, an ugly Big 12 win is still a win. Where does Texas Tech currently stand in terms of the Big 12 standings? Well, I'm glad you asked because it is currently on your screen right about now. There it is. The Red Raiders are currently alone in 3rd place in the Big 12. Now, things are interesting. Things are interesting here, Red Raider Nation, in the sense of I think Texas Tech fans need to be Arizona fans on Saturday as Arizona and Houston are set to face off out in Tucson. You want Arizona to beat Houston. That way you're only a game behind of both of them if you handle business in Stillwater, which you absolutely should. I think the Red Raiders will be ready to go on that one because I think Grant McCasland is going to chew them out a little bit in terms of their performance, specifically on the defensive end. Now, I will say that game did impact their KenPom aspect of things. They are no longer in that stat that I've talked about here multiple times on the channel in the sense of national championship contenders where you're top 21 in offense, top 31 in defense. You're no longer top 31 in defense after this game. You fell 10 spots nationally from 28 all the way down to 38. Now your offense did go up a little bit, went up a few spots. In fact, I think it went up 4 if I'm not mistaken. But I want to mention and give flowers to JT Toppin a little bit more. This was a great stat from Jared Burson. Here's the tweet on your screen right now. Texas Tech's JT Toppin tonight in a 2-overtime win over Arizona State. 41 points, 15 rebounds, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 17 of 22 from the field, 77.3%. He is the only Division I player with at least 40 points, 15 rebounds, and multiple steals and blocks in a single game over the last 30 years. JT Toppin is the 4th player in Big 12 history with 40 points, 15 rebounds in a game, joining Melvin Ejim, Blake Griffin, and Michael Beasley. He joined Zach Edey in last year's Elite 8 as the only Division I players with a 40-15 game over the last 3 seasons. He wasn't done there, however. There were a couple other stats that he had. as you can see on your screen right there. The last player I can definitely say had 40 points, 15 rebounds, and multiple steals and blocks in a Division I game was Ralph Sampson. January 25th, 1981. He does, caveat, hey, it is possible. It happened other times in the 80s or early 90s. But he also goes on to say this. JT Toppin is just the fourth Division I player this century to post 40 points and 15 rebounds while shooting 75% from the field in a game, and is the first to do so in 8 years. Historic performance by JT Toppin. There's no other way to say it, right? And I think the beautiful part about this is this. Texas Tech played a C- at best game defensively. I'd probably give them a D+, right? Because they did have some moments. But offensively, this team can be carried, and those defensive inefficiencies sometimes can be nullified because of how good you are offensively. Think about this, and maybe this is the question that I want to ask you guys today. Legitimately, how many games this season moving forward do you think Texas Tech is going to have the best player on the floor? His name is JT Toppin. I would venture to say a vast majority of them, because people are starting to see it. I think Red Raider Nation has known it this whole year, but JT Toppin is an absolute bona fide superstar at the collegiate level, and he is going to help Texas Tech really go far in March. I still believe that. Again, this is an anomaly in terms of Arizona State scoring that much, and truth be told, it's an anomaly for Texas Tech to score 111, right? It was in double overtime, granted, but this Texas Tech offense is absolutely elite, a top 10 unit in the country, and I don't think this is indicative of how good the defense can be for Texas Tech moving forward. I think they're going to make adjustments. I think Grant McCaslin's going to have this team ready to go, and the first opportunity to do so in terms of getting back on track defensively will be in Stillwater on Saturday at 2 p.m. You can watch that game on ESPN+. And if you want to stay in the know on all things Texas Tech men's basketball all year long, including my thoughts on this absolute thriller by the number 12 Red Raiders, 111-106. A classic, truly a classic, unreal type game out in the 806 last night. If you want to stay in the know on all of that, all you got to do is simply like the video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to join the largest group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube and the most interactive group of Texas Tech fans on YouTube right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel. And as always, stay safe and Recom Tech.